Heavenly Father, we come to you today just asking you to watch over this meeting of our county commission, be with all our employees as they go through their duties for the week, and be with everyone through this Christmas holiday. In Jesus' name, amen.
Here, anything from Dean?
I don't think so. Let me look at the email.
I reviewed the minutes and make a motion that we pass last week's minutes as written.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
With you just a second here.
I'll tell you that Melissa emailed me to tell you that they're real busy with shop to get over here.
Yeah.
They're doing a lot of shops.
Okay, I do have a text from Danny. Just says he's running a few minutes late.
Okay. So Melissa's not here from the health department.
I've got
What do you got?
several things to get you going here. Oh, there's the minutes to be signed. There's payroll. Have the bills for the week.
Look over the bills and I make a motion, we pay the bills in the amount of $794,593.11.
Second. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye.
I have the sheriff's report.
$23 prisoners in, 23 total prisoners, 9 prisoners here, and 5 farmed out.
18 here.
18 here. That's what I meant. 18. I'll get it right. 18 prisoners in, and 5 were farmed out, for a total of 23.
I have a whole bunch of ads and abates. We have to hold all these when we're going through the abstract at the end of the year till PVD releases everything. So I have the 2021 ads and abates, numbers 1 through 20 and 22 through 74.
You have a total on.
I did not total them up. I just finished printing them out this morning.
Do we need to read them all off?
I don't.
No.
Why? It's one.
I don't want to.
Just read the numbers. What's the numbers?
Okay, it's number 1 through 20 and then 22 through 74.
There's nothing extraordinary.
No.
Look through them as we sign
We
them.
need to sign everyone then, or?
You know, I don't know that it's really a big deal. I mean, maybe if you want to initial or something real quick, one of you go through or each of you do some, because
He's starting to throw that over here, wouldn't you?
when I enter them in the system, I have to put the chairman's name on every one of them anyway, saying they've been approved, so.
Let me give you part of it.
You make a motion.
I'll make a motion, we approve these ads and the abates.
1 through 20 and 22 through what?
74.
I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded that we pass these ads and abates. All in favor? Aye.
All right, and then I've got some time scheduled later to talk about year-end transfers and purchase orders, and I think I sent you guys a copy of a list of them, and we can go through them when we get to that point and
Okay.
see what you think about them.
Okay. Is that it?
I think that's it for now.
Warren, go ahead.
Good morning.
Morning.
Getting close to the end of the year, we got a lot going on out there right now, including some site work. As for site work, we are continuing with our site concrete pavements as part of a change order a while back, doing away with our asphalt. We have placed concrete on either side of the concrete pavement on either side of the Sally Port, and we're continuing west from the west side of the Sally Port to the end of the site. So that work's ongoing. Pretty much by the end of this month, about 80%. We're anticipating about 80% of just normal sidewalk should be done. I am still waiting on direction from our designers regarding some changes on the south parking, keeping the annex building here, moving some type of parking to the west of us. I've not seen anything from them yet. I have placed a couple calls, couple emails regarding that, and waiting on more direction. So on the inside of the building, we are 98% done with our CMU block. We have one 8-inch wall left where our evidence locker goes. We're waiting on some rough-in dimensions for that. And then right now, we're just working on chase walls where plumbing and all that needs to be concealed. Painting is ongoing. Painting is actually going pretty well right now. We've got by 75% of the day rooms, our dorm rooms painted, block filled, and first finish coat. And above ceiling rough-ins are going on everywhere. Our IT server room work is rapidly being performed there. We're pulling a lot of wire, a lot of our low voltage wire for our security and IT equipment. We are anticipating on starting some tile work, some porcelain tile work in bathrooms and such after the first of the year. So a lot happening, and so far we've lucked out pretty well on the weather. A little chilly in the mornings. I know we poured last week, we covered over the weekend. Due to that second, third day is when we're concrete's most susceptible to freezing. So I'm expecting Marbury to resume work today and the rest of the week. Also anticipating Victory Excavating to be back this week, starting tomorrow. So
Okay.
that's it for as of work on site.
Wasn't there some questions earlier on about ordering kitchen stuff? That may be on back order or anything? Is that, you remember anything about that?
We had our walk-in coolers and freezers.
Right.
The parent company of Cold Pack, the suppliers of those, they had a nationwide increase.
Right.
We weren't going to consider anything with that until they determined a delivery date, and our delivery date is January 25th. So that works out with our schedule.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I
Is it a
can't
hood
remember.
range or something?
There was something that was on back order, or I don't remember.
A hood range in the kitchen or?
no.
So are we good? So I guess.
We're good on that right now.
We did a part of the change order to, do some relocation to allow different vending or something. And they, I can't remember the details. That was way back.
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank on a hood range. I'll be honest. We're installing the hood tomorrow. The
Okay.
big
Okay.
the big hood above the
I don't
ranges.
know why I was just thinking that there was.
We are installing that. Maybe I mentioned last week there was a little miscommunication between our ductwork and our HVAC piping sub. They're battling it out, but they're installing it tomorrow. So other than that,
Feeling good about everything so far?
yeah, I do. I'm constantly nervous about one thing or another, but I mean, overall, we're doing pretty good. I sleep better at night knowing we've got Combs Construction in there with the labor doing constant cleanup. We're getting to the point of the job right now. I'd like to see a labor be on some type of cleanup duty every day. We've got him here Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday this week, and he's off Thursday, Friday, and I'll probably set up something for Bill when he's here next week. But
Does that seem to be working out? I know Bill's been gone with different problems.
yeah, Bill
You
Bill
and
right
him
now is
You and him together?
yeah, he's burning the rest of his vacation, and I'm burning the rest of my vacation next week. So
Okay.
we'll always have a presence here.
Yeah, I know.
This time of year, though, you'll have that.
Okay.
But
Gary, do we have anything? Anything to be brought up? Okay. You have
I
any?
don't have anything.
You got anything? Better run.
I mean, only other thing that I could just mention now, we have recently submitted 3 new PCOs, Apple electric related. Some of them being the owner, IT cabling, some additional IT cabling.
You know about them? Okay.
So that's been officially submitted. We had one with the, some changes to exterior lighting. That was a no-brainer, but there was some confusion on some scope changes in the IT server room. We got that worked out with the electrical engineer of record, Jeff Wheeler, submitted that, along with some changes, some site fiber optic cabling, submitted that as well. You haven't seen them yet, Gary. You might have been copied on some, but they got officially submitted to Goldberg Group on Friday. So we should be seeing those in a change order unless they have any issues with them here in the near future. So,
Okay. Thank you.
all right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yep.
MR?
Good morning, Galen Anderson, Operations Manager with AMR. Numbers wise, for the past 7 days, we've done 23 transports. And so far, for the month to date, as of yesterday, we've done 43 transports. And on Wednesday of last week, we moved furniture and everything over from the old Station 2 in Lacine to the new Station 2 in Lacine. So the crew's getting settled in and feels good to have them move over and be over there. We had some crews coming off duty to help, and so yeah, that's
So I went over and saw him about 3 or 4 different times during that move and stuff. And did we leave the building in good order? Because there was still some stuff that had to be
when
done.
you were there. It wasn't.
Yeah.
But
Have you checked it?
so Friday,
I know Virgil was there all day.
yeah, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, they're gonna go. The crews are gonna go back and do the cleanup.
I don't want to leave that to the township and,
Yeah.
and get
Yeah,
complaints.
it's gonna be. It should be clean by this point. But I'll confirm with them this morning. The next day, they're gonna do the cleanup, and they were slammed with quite a few transports. So the weekend crews are
Okay.
gonna do it. So yeah, I'll make sure it was left
I
tidy.
appreciate that.
Mhm.
You got anything? Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much.
Have a good
week.
Merry Christmas.
You as well.
Do you have something?
I just want to let you guys know I did the December shop small drawing. Kelly Satchel was our winner for a $25 gift card to Netherfield Natural Farms. And I had a good meeting with Chris and Taylor last week about the RFP. I got a good start on it. Chris gave me some good feedback, so I'm working on a draft. So we are working on that. The
Okay.
RFP for broadband.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Good. Yeah, I talked to Chris a little bit. He talked to me, and so I'm glad that's
Yep.
working out.
We're working on it.
What else is going on? Anything else?
That's what I'm focusing on this week is the the RFP. I'm hoping to get that
Appreciate
good
it.
draft here
Appreciate everything.
done
You
this
got
week.
anything?
So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
okay, thanks.
Sean, you want to go? You got a lot?
Actually, hold on, I do have something before we go, Sean.
Hey,
David, that email, I think Jackie, you sent it to him, I believe, about the internet, the broadband. Is that a whole nother deal from ARPA? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I do, and I really didn't look through it that much, but I think I forwarded on, did I forward an email to you about broadband stuff in the last few days?
It looked like there was another, or I can talk to you I'll talk to you afterwards. Jackie, do you know anything about it? Okay. I'll share it with Jessica afterwards.
go.
Sean West, Public Works Administrator.
Your turn.
Your November expense by task sheet, I don't have any discussion on it, just providing it to you. Updates for peppercorn, they now have the Getter Farms project, and they're collecting the information needed for legal. We completed, just for your information, we completed the next 6 months for pest control contract. And
Hold on, I thought we were doing that all in-house. Or I guess we're not. Because
the plan is to do that eventually, but we don't have the personnel to do that yet.
So who's doing it now? Did we just continue it on to?
We're doing 6-month contracts for pest control until we have the personnel trained.
Bid it out?
Yeah, did we?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we did it. We did it with all the local vendors available,
Yeah, I
and
remember that now. I know there was just a lot of talk about, us doing it in-house and then, so that's
We gotta have a proper license.
So is Johnny working on that? I mean, is that part of his initial plan to get his pest control license and?
that'll be after all the initial training for the noxious weed control.
Okay. Do you know anything about it? I mean, is it a pretty big task or?
I don't believe it is. I believe it's just one more additional test other than the ones he's taking.
Okay.
He's taking a test?
Yes, and
Have
actually,
results?
yes, actually, you're going to get updated on those here shortly.
Okay.
Um,
I'm impatient.
North Shop finished a pipeline ditching project at Devlin south of 1800. North Shop's moving on to another ditching project southeast of there, near a pipeline as well. South Shop will be starting the 331 project here shortly, just doing our portion of it. The compactor, I told you about the compactor and the difficulties that we were having with it. Apparently, the line we repaired last week, the steel line, we're still going to have to keep an eye on it, but the steel line has brought the production of that compactor and its ability that we were losing before, the compaction rating, it has brought it back up to near normal. So what I was telling you that was possible that we were going to have to look at replacing or repairing that compactor, right now we may have bought ourselves some time as far as the use of it.
Okay.
The holiday schedule for them has been published, advertised, and contractors contacted.
Awesome.
The park will be here next week to give you a yearly report and do the price list for next year. AMR is in their new building, and we're working on small items with them to finish out now that they're moved in to get everything resolved with them. And I gave the keys back to the township this morning and discussed with them if there were any issues to let me know, but I did a walkthrough before I gave the keys and the remotes back to them for that building.
Who was that?
Mike Van Black.
Okay.
And that is what I had for you this morning, other than what I'll be involved with the pay and the executive session and some testing stuff that I need to talk to you about non-elected personnel for.
Okay. You got anything? No road issues?
Not that I know.
Need to driveway work on.
Any paving? Christmas paving?
Too much gravel.
Too much. These new gravel taking off, whatever. We're good, Sean. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're hecklers today. Hey, Morgan, did you need anything?
Don't touch list.
She's with Sean on this stuff.
Oh, okay. You ready? We don't have anybody else to talk to, so we'll talk to you.
Good deal of personnel thing to say earlier. If you had time.
We could, and we could get into the stuff I have. I mean, we don't.
Let's just go through this painful scenario that you're going to unlikely do for us. Is it a 20-minute thing?
Depends how many questions there are.
Is it going to cost us money?
No,
Okay, well then
not now.
I'm all for it. If it doesn't cost us a dime.
Good morning, Chris Martin, Linn County IT Director. I actually have two things I wanted to discuss with you. I included on your places this River City document.
Right.
This is the price that Warren was just talking about. They'd sent over to Goldberg to review. I just wanted you all to be aware if you had any questions or whatnot. This is for the fiber, yes, to go from Justice to this building and the conduit and all that. And they included a nice map on the back of how that would be ran.
Okay.
So I just wanted you to be aware that as that comes through, we do need this because we're keeping the building. So.
Okay.
Are there any questions with that for me? This is the same stuff we talked about last week on handholds, conduit, building, fiber, 12 strand.
All right.
Okay, so if nothing else, what I wanted to talk to you guys about today, just to kind of brief you on our countywide radio system, what our equipment is, what we are changing or doing now, and what our future plans look like. Let me bring up this.
Is this the sheriff's office stuff?
It is, but it applies across the board. So,
Such as what?
so when I say that, when you created the IT department, the director position, the radio system was put underneath of IT as far as advising and selecting
Right.
things like that. So, we do have a significant amount of infrastructure that was purchased that works great with our current technology. But moving forward, there would be changes. But again, that is not necessary.
So road crew use the same thing? Will the road crews use the same thing?
Yes and no. So let's
Okay.
do this part because this
What the heck?
explains some of that. Okay.
All right.
So, and forgive my PowerPoint presentation. It was fairly quickly put together for you. What I want to talk to you first is terminology. And the reason is there's a lot of confusion when people talk about specifically, they'll say 800 megahertz. We need to go 800 megahertz. So 800 megahertz is a frequency. It is not a technology or a system. Currently, as you can see under radio systems, there's FM conventional. That's what we use today. That's analog conventional. That's where you have one channel that's designated for one purpose.
Okay.
So in our case, we have sheriff, fire, public works, and there's equipment that supports that. There's FM trunking, which we do not do. That is where you share channels. So you could have 4 or 5 channels shared amongst 10 or more groups. It's a way to be more conservative with your radio spectrum. There's P25. That is what the statewide interoperability system runs on. There's DMR, stands for Digital Mobile Radio. That's what Motorola and them use. And then there's NXDN, which is a Kenwood ICOM product. And then there's PTTOC. I mentioned specifically NXDN and PTTOC because those are our future. Push to talk over cellular, we're using a lot of that. That's our JPS product that we're using, and it works really, really well. There are no distance limitations. It works over Wi-Fi. It works over cellular. You could be anywhere as long as you have a connection to the internet one way or another. It works. Then on your frequency side, there's low band. Some of you probably heard of that. That's old school. We don't do low band anymore. There's VHF. That's us. We operate in the VHF band primarily. There's UHF. We have one channel in that. And then there's your 800 megahertz. So a system runs on a frequency. We pick a frequency based on our environment. We're not Western Kansas where we just have miles and miles of open land. We're also not a real urban area like a Johnson County where there's just 1 million buildings that are blocking our signals and various towers and things. We've done a lot of research and a lot of evaluation, and even though we are on VHF today, it is our recommendation to stay on VHF, and we plan to do that. It gives us the best penetration in buildings, and it gives us the best coverage area in the county.
So the 800 megahertz, like a lot of northern counties are using, very, very expensive. Is that correct?
Not only very expensive, but very infrastructure intensive.
Okay.
So you end up, because 800 megahertz, the higher the frequency, the smaller the antenna gets, the less penetration you get, the more towers that you need in order for it to communicate reliably. So on 800 megahertz, we had a study done back in 2011 or 12 where they looked at an 800 meg here, and it was millions of dollars
Right.
and involved an additional 5 or 6 towers throughout the county in order to support that system. But again, 800 megahertz, you can run analog on 800. You could run, well, P25, DMR, NXDN. It just doesn't behoove us in our environment to do an 800, but we are still going digital. So we still gain all the benefits of digital, but we also keep the benefits of the VHF band.
Okay.
So our current radio system as it stands today, we are using VHF conventional. That's what we use now. We have 5 repeaters in the county. 4 of them are our mains. So that's your fire, your sheriff, your emergency management, and your public works. The 5th one is our backup repeater that we just recently installed. The backup repeater is capable of backing up any of those other 4, whether digital or analog. We have 1 central radio tower site, and we have 1 backup radio tower site, which are fully supported. These support all Linn County operations. If you are running a radio in Linn County, those towers support that. We do use UHF. We have a UHF conventional vehicle repeaters. That's the sheriff's office. So it was the methodology many, many years ago that in order for your handheld, which only broadcasts at 5 watts, your mobile in your car broadcasts at 50 watts. That's what we use today. The handheld's not going to make it to the tower if, say, you were in Parker or Blue Mound or a fringe area. It's just not going to make it there. So they invested in vehicle-based repeaters. So the handheld actually talks to the car, which then goes back out the car's radio to dispatch and reverse the path for talking back to them. So it gave the deputies the ability to be remote and still have handheld for safety. That methodology has changed a lot. We'll kind of talk about the costs of that and maybe our future plans for dealing with that in a more cost-effective and beneficial way to everyone, not just the sheriff's office. Because that design only benefits a deputy. Doesn't do anything for a police department, for fire, for anybody else. There's P25. We have this in our dispatch now. So we are connected to the state 800 megahertz system. There's 1 tower in Linn County. It's over by Parker. So that's the main one that we hit off of. And it mainly supports communication with other agencies and AMR. So AMR has an 800 megahertz frequency that's dedicated just to Linn County. And our dispatch can hear that and can talk back on that.
What tower are we on there?
With that, Parker.
What
So
is it at?
it'd be, I want to say it's 1900 or 1800 and Giroux-ish. So just south of Parker there. And this also lets us communicate with other agencies that are, say, Highway Patrol, Miami County. They use the state 800 system. We have the ability to talk to their dispatch over that. And again, the next slide, we'll talk about the console and how that benefits us. And then our new addition, which actually started this year, which is JPS Via. That's our push to talk over cellular, totally private. Okay, that's not scannable. It runs over the internet. It is secure. It's encrypted, but it works off of a platform that we have really, really liked. And again, there is no distance limitations.
What? Give me an example why we would use that.
So the sheriff's office, like take their detectives as an example, instead of outfitting them with repeaters and all this stuff in their vehicles, they use their cell phone.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Say they want to talk, we want to use the name of a
Mm-hmm.
suspect in their communication, but they don't want that.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
You're absolutely right. They use it a lot. You'll hear them on the radio if you listen. They need to get a phone number to call somebody that reported, a theft or burglary or something. We used to put that over the radio. And now anybody that had a pen could certainly, if they wanted, call that number, where now they use GPS in order to communicate with the deputy. It also functions as a one-to-one. So if IT Director Chris Martin wanted to talk to Sheriff Kevin Friend, I just pick his name and it's just him and me talking. So it's not a whole group, but it can be a whole group. It's kind of a really nice hybrid of systems.
And that's not only, is that just only for the sheriff's department?
No, sir.
For everyone?
So that one there is for anybody that wants on it. And in fact, we use that with Road and Bridge.
Okay.
So Public Works, I like it a lot with them.
Do they use it though?
There's more use going on every day.
Okay.
And with the transition throughout this year, we just released all those tablets a month and a half ago. So that is beginning to pick up. And they're beginning to realize some of the benefit to that.
Okay.
And there's no dead spots anywhere.
Oh, I can't say that there isn't, but there is with our current LMR system, which is the VHF system. So there's pros and cons to everything on that. But with that, let's just take the Public Works example. Like right now, if you had a road grader talking to a dump truck bringing in rock, they talk on the open air, so nobody else can talk while they're doing their thing. With JPS, they can pick just that truck and talk to just them, and if another truck talks there, because it's all independent.
Gotcha.
So they're not interfering with any of that. We do have interoperability assets in the county. What that means is it has been a focus of ours to make sure that in the time of an emergency that we are able to communicate with other counties. Sometimes when we talk about 800 meg, which is the P25 system with the state, or DMR, what other counties are using, some of the logic that gets used is, well, that other county is using that technology. We should use that so we're compatible with them. That is a fallacy that we need to pick what's best for Linn County operations day to day, and then we use our interoperability assets to bridge with those other counties. So as an example, we have what's called an ACUM in the county. That device, it's pictured up there, it actually comes in a big box. There are 4 radios that are connected to that, as well as potential internet connection lines that are on the back of it. With that device, we can bridge radio systems together, and with the radios that we have in our ACUM, we are able to cover VHF, UHF, the P25 800 meg system, and everything in between. So by enabling that device, and it is a standalone device, so internet's not required. If like all heck broke loose, that thing would still work and would still bridge. In fact, that exact device, the one we own, was used in the Joplin tornado. So we responded down there, and we were using that ACUM to bridge Kansas frequencies over to Missouri frequencies because they didn't have the assets on scene as of yet. So very, very nice. The second one we have is what's called a dual channel interoperability gateway. This is a device that allows us to connect radios to it and then interface back with our existing, it could be a telephone system, it could be our console system, it could be any number of things. Works very similar to the ACUM, but it has a lot more internet-based features. So by deploying that device, we're not restricted at all on reception. Our dispatch console system. This is a huge, huge piece that's been installed this year. This is absolutely wonderful. I really, really like this. And the feedback we get is very good. We opted to go with a Mindshare console system. This system, so a console system doesn't have anything to do with the radio technology that's used. It simply bridges them or communicates with them. So in our environment, as an example, we have the state P25 system. It's connected to our console. We have the sheriff, fire, public works, emergency management channels connected to the console.
Isn't this what you installed over there at the?
That is exactly right.
Kevin
Yep.
was talking about this. Isn't it kind of rare, like how you guys run it or something?
So yeah, we also include our JPS in it. So it also bridges over the push to talk. This system, the main reason we chose it, not only was it cost effective, it gave us this unlimited flexibility in our design. That's literally our layout. But there's no central point of failure. So there's no central controller in this system. every device communicates with every other device over what's known as multicast. And our systems are developed to accept and prioritize those multicast packets. The beauty of that design is exactly what happened to us here a month ago, whatever, when we took roughly 4 or 5 lightning strikes right over the sheriff's office. And it hit hard. Well, it took out 5 of our MRIs. That's our radio interface. But the system kept working because all the equipment out at the tower site, the equipment on the backup, even the console positions, they weren't affected. But had that taken out, like a Motorola-based system, which uses a central controller, and the central controller goes down, you're down. You just have nothing. All the rest of the components could be working fine. With a Mindshare system, that's not a concern of ours. It also allows us to be super flexible. So we actually have 3 positions. 2 are fixed in dispatch. 1 is a laptop. And so with that laptop, you can go anywhere in the world if you get an internet connection and hear and talk on our radio system and dispatch.
Weren't they offline though or something?
No,
No?
nope.
They didn't have to use another sheriff's department?
No, that was the 911, and that was, we opted to do that because, and it was only for roughly 20 minutes. We, when I arrived, and that it had taken out part of one of the 911 computers. The other one was still operating, but we didn't know, was it directly impacted? So we opted to switch over temporarily. We tested, everything was fine, and we brought it all back to us.
Okay.
Yep. So I like that little image that they had there because that is absolutely correct. And in fact, that is 4 out of 5 of what we do. So we have legacy analog, we connect to P25, we connect to NextEdge, and we connect to ES Chat, which is JPS VIA, all through our console system. It also allows dispatchers, happened last night, where they can broadcast on multiple systems at exactly the same time with a single push of a button. So last night they had an incident that took place. They sent out sheriff, fire, EMS, and with one push of a button on that console, they broadcast on 4 channels. Sheriff, fire, emergency management, and the 800 megahertz sent out the same information, and people got it all simultaneously. They can also patch radio channels on the fly. So if you had a situation where there was a chase, as an example, and it was coming from Miami County, they can take the 800 megahertz, change it over to Miami County's frequency, patch it with our sheriff frequency, and now both of those systems are talking like they're one. Again, Miami County uses a totally different system, and that's okay, because our systems are designed to bridge that gap. Any questions on Mindshare or the console?
No.
So let's talk about some of our new system changes.
Has this already happened?
Some of this is in the works, but this has been going on for years. And let me explain that, because that's our first thing, is our kind of how this all came to be. In 2014, we began evaluating our digital options to include P25, DMR, and XDN. We actually evaluated the systems, talked to other users of them, looked at costs of equipment, various metrics. At the time, NXDN, still today, was selected. We'll get to that. 2015, the sheriff's office had applied for grants to buy mobile radios for their cars. They bought NXDN compatible radios. So all of the sheriff's office vehicles are already fully equipped for a digital transition.
Okay.
At the same time in 2015, the local public safety agencies were notified that we had selected that, and that whenever the time came, that we recommended that they get a radio that's compatible with an XDN. I know right now 2 of our local jurisdictions have radios that they're ready to switch. Okay. 2018, we built the tower site out at K7. We acquired the land, constructed a 250-foot tower. Great location. I can't tell you how awesome that is. The tip of that tower is the equivalent of 400 feet from the ground we're sitting on. So our original tower was 180 feet, and we tacked on over 200 feet above just by elevation. Right. And it has really, really improved reception and transmit throughout the county. And then this year in 21, there's new repeaters. So up at our backup tower site, we put in a new Kenwood NextEdge repeater, which is capable of the NXDN as well as analog. That's one really nice feature of the Kenwood product. The other is we have replaced the repeater out at the tower site for the sheriff's office. It's running an analog right now. And so they are ready whenever the things align and the sheriff is ready to pull that trigger. We simply reprogram some radios and we will be in the digital world. I wanted to talk to you. This is kind of gets to the crux of why we're discussing today. Why NXDN versus DMR? Effectively, and I'm oversimplifying this, you can look at that as Kenwood versus Motorola. Those are just brands, okay? But they're different technologies and the way they operate. So the NXDN, which is the one that we've chosen, is FDMA, Frequency Division Multiple Access. Then there's the DMR, which is digital mobile radio. It's TDMA, Time Division Multiple Access. I'm not going to get crazy in the weeds unless you want to, but it is unbelievably value. If you look at the picture that's up there, that under FDMA, the Kenwood and what we're operating in, the NXDN, runs at 6.25 kilohertz spacing. So we know that just like what happened back in 2013-ish when FCC finally said you need a narrow band, we went from 25 kilohertz spacing down to 12.5. They're going to do it again. I don't know when, but they're going to do it again. And they're going to say go from 12.5 down to 6.25. Our NXDN is already 6.25, true 6.25 compatible. What DMR does is what's called equivalent 6.25. And it's kind of a misnomer because they take a 12.5 kilohertz space and they cut it in chunks. They time slot it. So this little slot is what they call channel 1, and this little slot is channel 2. And they use that as a selling point to say that, well, you buy one repeater from us, you get 2 channels, which sort of is true, but there's a whole lot of other factors that go into that. Specifically things like lead up time, sync time, even simplex operation with radios. Simplex is when I'm talking from my radio to yours, not through a repeater. There are issues with that on DMR, and that is the last thing you want to do. We had actually talked to Topeka Fire Department. This has been several years ago, and they had switched over to a system which they ended up having to spend a lot more money into because they had a problem where they could have a firefighter in a basement that couldn't talk to the guy running the scene outside because his radio couldn't reach a tower. Their radios would not communicate radio to radio. And they had to change a bunch of stuff. That was a huge safety issue. That's obviously something we don't want to do, whether it's law enforcement, fire, or anything else. So we have chosen the NXDN for the reason of FDMA. With NXDN, it's an open standard. It was created in the US for US stuff. It's a true 6.25 kilohertz channel, which I think is absolutely vital. A lot of radio, I'll just say nerdy kind of stuff going on there with the filtering, with the propagation of signals, all of that. We actually get way better service coverage with 6.25 than we are with 12.5. It is widely used across the US in public safety. The entire railroad system uses NXDN. And back to the open standard where it says multiple radio vendors, that was another key feature is you're not locked into Kenwood. You're not locked into ICOM. There are, I could think of at least 5 vendors you can buy radios from should you choose to. Kenwood and ICOM seem to be the most cost effective for us. But again, we don't want to buy a product that then we're only stuck with one vendor. So it gives us the best digital coverage footprint and excellent noise suppression. We've been testing this now since the backup repeater went online with some of our patrol cars. And we are getting awesome results, absolutely awesome results over the analog signals that we were getting before. It is really, really impressive. And considering that we are operating off of a tower that is over 200 feet lower to the tip than our main tower site and not in the center of the county, and yet we're still getting those performances. So when we switch to running digital from the main tower, we're just going to gain that much more benefit and clarity. It is really, really nice. On the DMR side, it's limited vendors. There's a lot of people that do DMR, but they customize it. Let's talk to Motorola. They call theirs Moto Turbo. And if you use some of the specialty features of Moto Turbo, you have to buy Motorola radios.
Okay.
There's no options at all. They use time-based channel separation. That creates issues. The equipment costs more. So when we looked at the cost of just the back-end equipment on the repeaters, we found that we can buy 2 Kenwood Next Edge repeaters for less money than 1 Motorola. So when you talk about that dual channel coming out of the DMR, I can actually do 2 channels with the Kenwood for less money than I can do 2 channels with the Motorola. The DMR is also broke down into tiers. So you get tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. Your radios have to be compatible. There's all these kind of things that go along with that. Whereas in the NXDN, you're either NXDN conventional or trunking. That's pretty much what it narrows down to. And then the simplex is limited. That's your radio to radio.
Is this what the sheriff sent out to us?
No,
Okay, that's something different.
it is. So I really like this chart because this was a real world example of their coverage area. So digital radio in general, and I'm just talking DMR, NXD, and digital period. I don't care what technology you use, has a 20% coverage, better coverage area than analog. So over our current analog coverage, we expect to get a 20% better coverage using the exact same equipment, towers, antennas, everything, as what our analog is covering. When you look at NXDN versus DMR, NXDN is getting 15% more on top of that. So the NXDN is actually extending out 15% further due to that FDMA, due to that frequency filtering, due to the barrier band with the 6 1/4 with a 12.5 allocation. And we've proven it over the last week with our tests that it absolutely, their claim of that being better is true. So, and NXDN has better portable coverage and voting sites are easier to deploy. That's going to come up in our future section. But I like those 2 maps. So the one on the left is analog. The green area was reliable reception. The one on the right is NXDN digital. Same tower, same repeater, same radios in the cars. The green area is reliable reception and transmission. That is awesome. And I know it's small on there, but the circular area on the left one is 32 miles. The one on the right is 66 miles.
Okay.
So our future radio projects, this is the last slide, I promise. Voter sites. So we talked a little bit earlier about the repeaters in the cars with the patrol cars. That methodology, that design is becoming old school and it's becoming expensive. It's harder and harder to acquire those types of repeaters. And they're just, the cost of them is going up to put them in a car, be rugged, that kind of thing. What most entities are doing now is using what are called voter sites. And I'm just going to click through so you can see them. So what a voter site does is you put a piece of equipment on a tower. It doesn't have to be super high. It's not super expensive equipment, but what it does is listen. All it does is listen, and it sends data back to the main repeater, and whichever one is getting the best quality of reception is the audio that's used. So now if I have a handheld, my handheld doesn't need to go to the car and then come out of the car and go, up the deal. I can actually talk on a handheld and hit a tower. But the towers aren't all broadcasting. The central tower is broadcasting at 100 watts in our case, and it covers the entire county and then some very, very well, including, because remember, it's not a two-way thing. When you broadcast, it goes out. When you broadcast from your handheld, it's got to make it from that little bitty antenna at 5 watts back to somewhere. So by having voter sites in the county, we're able to have listeners that are able to pick that up. We already have the backhaul infrastructure in place with our tower sites, with our microwave stuff, everything. We have lots of bandwidth available, and our infrastructure is already in place to begin looking at this. This is not something that we have priced specifically. We've discussed with vendors as to what it would take to do it, but we don't have like sites selected and that kind of thing. I just want you guys to be aware that this is something we're looking at. It improves better reception for everybody.
Where does it come out of? What monies?
There may be grants, it may be sheriff. Depends on what departments decide they want to join in on that. There could be lots of options there.
Does it take all new handhelds too?
So it would, and the only reason is our current handhelds are UHF that go to the car, and these are VHF towers. But that's what leads us to the costs. When you look at what a repeater in a car runs, between $1,000 and $1,200 for a repeater in a car. And then you tack on another $400 or $500 for the handheld that goes along with it. Now the handheld doesn't have to be replaced all the time, but still, we're looking at $1,800 easily for one repeater, one car, one deputy. Whereas, the repeater or the equipment setup, like we just did up here on the tower site, $2,500. So we have how many cars with repeaters in them? All of a sudden, we are increasing the ability for every agency to receive. Parker PD, Lacine PD, Pleasanton PD, all with a handheld. They buy a $400 or $500 handheld, they're talking. And they're able to talk to dispatch and receive back from dispatch, no problem. No additional vehicle stuff involved. It just creates a level of complexity that's not needed anymore with the vehicle repeaters. Okay. And then like I say, it's cost effective because we're able to, for the equivalent of 2 cars worth of equipment, put up a tower. Put up equipment on a tower. We would use existing assets, whether that be a building, whether that be a tower that's available with some space, anything like that. And we would connect up the equipment to that, and we have a voter site. So, to do that would significantly cut the costs of that equipment in the patrol car in perpetuity. Because right now, we're moving repeaters from car to car. Eventually, we have some that have gone bad. They've been around for 10, 15 years. Some of them were narrow banded. Some of them couldn't be narrow banded. We had to replace those years ago. My point being, though, moving forward, the voter sites benefits everybody, and it cuts our costs as a county. So
you put some numbers together?
We will. And again, this is not like, hey, we want to do this in 22. I'm just letting you guys know what we're looking at. Okay. So when we come back later, it's not just a complete surprise.
Okay.
Any questions? Did I go too far? Some of the.
No, Jim's going to repeat it all back. No.
I heard Gary snoring.
No, I appreciate.
Okay.
You kind of made it simple enough.
Sorry, I tried.
No, I went over and met with Kevin one time, and kind of it took him a few hours to get through to me kind of what it was. So it took me a while, but so I kind of don't know anything about it, but I kind of got an understanding of it.
Yes, go ahead, Jackie.
I have a question for the public, because like in our office, we listen to broadcasts. Is this going to cut the public out?
The answer is no. In fact, I confirmed that with the sheriff over the weekend. So understand that in a digital transmission, a normal scanner is not going to pick that up. Okay, but it is the sheriff's position at this time that we are going to continue to push the audio to Broadcastify. So even though it's digital and we gain all the benefits of that digital, you would still have the web version. Scanners that can pick up digital, they can get up $800+ and they get rather expensive.
Do you know why he feels that's necessary?
I don't.
Okay.
But on that side of it, we can encrypt and we can do
so
that.
Like the 800 megahertz systems up there in say Miami and Johnson County, scanners don't pick up on any.
They do actually.
Oh, they do. Okay.
Yeah, they sure do. In fact, you can go to Broadcastify and listen to their feeds.
Okay.
Yeah. So now if you encrypt the channel, or again, should something change, or there's even options where maybe there's a major event going on, we can of course just cut that feed for Broadcastify or whatever, or encrypt the channel on the fly. So
I always wonder why people sit and listen to it.
I understand.
Maybe I understand why the newspaper.
Yeah.
It. I don't understand why people would sit around and.
It's. I will tell you from personal experience that
Jim got pulled over.
When we were putting the mind share in, we had to.
Danny's cows are out.
A week. We heard about it. So.
All right. Well, thanks, Chris.
Okay, guys.
I
If
appreciate
you have any
it.
questions, let me know.
Now just put the bill together and tell us what's going to happen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Easing us into it. It's always gentle. All right. So we need some executive session time, right? Do you need some?
I need a little bit.
What do you need?
Probably 10 minutes for legal, just to depend on a couple things.
And I've got over
I got 10 legal.
It'll take a little while to go through.
So Danny's got 10 legal too. And is yours illegal or? Oh, but you got some personnel executive
They're
session.
talking about maybe half an hour's worth of stuff on that one, so I don't know if you want to get through everything else and then do that.
I'm gonna tack 5 more on yours, okay? I think we can do it. Do you need anything? So, I'll make a motion. We go into executive session for 25 minutes for legal and 30 minutes for personnel. And the personnel part will be with, who?
Sean and Morgan.
Sean and Morgan. That's my motion.
A second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Yeah, I don't know why he set that one out there. There's no action from that lengthy thing.
Did you get a new vehicle?
Huh?
Oh, that blue one?
I'm right over here.
Oh.
Yeah, somebody, I didn't get there in time and somebody took my sparking spot.
Put your name on it,
I know.
put your sign up there.
Big sign. You know I park. This is Rick James. Eh. We're waiting on David. He's got some word.
Gary, where are we at on our letter to the superintendent? So we, okay.
They're coming in sometime, aren't they?
18th of January, I was gonna head down for them.
Thought I heard some.
I hadn't done that because I was waiting.
Okay.
All right, so you guys ready to dive into these year-end things? I had one more request that came in this morning on here, Christie. I'll give you a copy of that. It was not on the list I sent to you or what I had printed out to go through today. But I emailed you guys a copy that was just a list of purchase order and transfer requests. I also have a couple other sheets where I've done a bunch of calculations I'd like to go through with you and show you where we're at on everything. So. This one, the one on legal paper is,
It's a document. Just now.
shows everything by fund.
The one you said you didn't get.
And then I've got one that is by department.
Get it? Can you send it to the other two after you read it?
And then I've got the one that I emailed out to you. It just has the PO and transfer request that I just got, or that have been requested. So that legal size sheet, right, the first thing I really want to look over. We always, when we get down to the end of the year, have a lot of departments that would like to have purchase orders or transfers from the end of the year because they've got budget left. A lot of times people will wait until late in the year and try to save what they can to make some bigger purchases. Sometimes the transfers are just to put the money away that they had left for whatever reason. But I have to look at the budget and the cash in each fund to make sure that we're okay. We have enough budget left and we have enough cash left. The cash part is something the individual departments never see, because that's what Janet and I track in there. I mean, I have to review with her records to make sure we balance on the cash. So what I went through on this one, I put in, just working across that sheet, what their budget was for the year.
Which one are you looking at? The long one?
The long one, yeah. And this is by fund. So there's a whole bunch of us in the general fund, and then there's some that have their own funds. I did publish an amended budget notice for the health department. They were going to be cutting it real close to get through the year with what was in their budget, but they had quite a bit of cash that had come in from grants, so we had extra cash there. So I went ahead and published an amended budget notice, and I'll have that hearing next week. And that was just really more of a safety, because their original one was roughly 100,000 left than that. I'm still showing that they may come out with right around 100,000 left, so we might have been okay, but it was just safer to get that published in case we needed to go over. The second column on it, where it says 12/3 balance, that was after we paid all the bills at the end of November and the payroll that went out on December 3rd. And that was how much of the budget was left. There's a column there that says December pays. That is the pays we have already made this month for the 13th and the 17th. The 17th pay.
Which one's that? Which column's that?
So December pays.
Okay, I got you.
So that covers the bills that you approved last week and this week. They're
Okay.
already figured in there. So then the column after that was where the balance was on each fund after those bills. Then I've got a column there for POs and one's for transfers. That's what's been requested. And if we were not going to pay any bills then the rest of the year, that year-end balance is where we'd be on the budget for each fund. And then I start looking at the cash on the rest of that form. So I put in where their cash was at the end of last month. And then I have to take out all those pays and the POs and the transfers. And then I do some adjusting on the cash for income we've received this month and compare that to the budgeted carryover, because I want to make sure, especially on tax levy funds, that not only do we not go over budget or over cash, but we carry over as much cash as I had planned when I did budget, because that's going to affect us another year down the road on levies if we didn't carry enough cash over.
Okay,
So if you look at that last column on difference, the special alcohol, I'm showing a little less cash carryover than what I planned, but it's $18.50, and that's really not going to matter in that fund. And that one's not a tax levy fund. The other one where we're over was sewer district. We had some more expenses in that this year than normal. We're still well within budget, but we're a little low on cash. But that one's not a tax levy fund either, so I'm really not worried about those two being a little less carryover. All the other funds look like they're in good shape on budget and on cash. So then I did another sheet on the one by department. So on that one, I split up everything that's in the general fund, and I put in what they had requested on transfers and POs and whether or not that was going to keep the individual budgets or individual departments within their budget or not. If you scan down through that, you'll notice like noxious weed budget is already over for the year. So nothing was requested on a PO or transfer there, but I would recommend not doing any in that one if there was, because it's already over budget. Special building, we took some extra things out of that this year. It's over the budget we had, but within the general, so we're okay on it. And then airport is already gone over. We bought a big load of fuel a month or two ago that I hadn't really planned on buying that much this year, so that put us over the budget in that one. There is a request in the PO or transfer for a 25,000 on there, so that'd be one we want to take a look at. If the fact that it's over budget, do you want to do that transfer or not? And then it goes on down through the other departments that are in their own funds. So I guess what it really boils down to then, when you look at the sheet that just says purchase orders and transfers, these are what have been requested by the various departments. I say, and then in addition to that, Christie has asked today for 9,500 to I-County Technologies, which that was for, I asked her to clarify what it was for when she sent it. It is for software maintenance and replication services. So, and I don't, do you want to go through these a line at a time, or do you want to just ask questions if you've got questions on some of them, or how do you want me to approach this?
So just, can you help me on the, like on the big spreadsheet where it says purchase order $23,075? What, give me, what are we spending that on?
Okay, those would be all the PO requests for the general fund. So if you look at the, okay, the list you've got in your left hand.
Right here?
Yeah, you see there's one there for.
Okay, it says general election, treasurer.
Yeah,
District
so
general.
treasurer, election.
Okay.
There's another one there for me for clerk, where I bought some office chairs, or I'm buying some, but they're not here yet. And then district court as for their contract attorneys and for some scanning and microfilming. And then Christie's request would get added to that amount, so it would actually be on up to about 3,200 by the time I get hers in there. And then the transfers on the general would be on the right side of that other page we were looking at. When you look at district court wanted 20,000 for office equipment. Sheriff wants 25 for patrol car upfits. Economic development, Jessica had asked for 10,000 to do industrial park investments with. And then the airport, 25,000 for a courtesy car is what Sean was talking about there. He's actually talking about using that station wagon we have as the courtesy car, but then he would want something to replace it.
Well, we got 2 cop cars sitting down at the.
Well, and that's something you guys can talk about. I'm just
Fair.
kind of relaying what they've given me at this point.
Now, this office equipment for the district courts, are we not buying all new office equipment for right over here? I mean, have we already?
I thought for the new building, for
That's already.
everybody's.
You're buying furniture. This may be something other than furniture. I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, that's something we can get a hold of Lori.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what she has in mind with that, so that's something I could check on with her and see what kind of equipment we're talking about.
Okay.
And then, like I said, one of my big questions on that one is, with the airport already being over budget, do you want to do a transfer for the courtesy car replacement? General fund has.
I didn't know there was any discussion over that.
What else did we do as far as big purchase at the airport for just fuel? Is it just
Well, I can bring it up and see.
That big change or that contract we had.
that dirt deal?
Probably, that's probably.
I mean, we got 2 cars sitting down there not doing anything. I don't know why we can't utilize that as the.
You built those roads.
Yeah, that's probably what it is, where we built the road, wasn't it? That's where the money, yeah.
I'd like to see some kind of advertisement out there, like a 4x8 piece of plywood with an architectural picture on it of what that airport could look like. Do we have any, so when we sell those plots or whatever you call them, do we have any like terms of agreement where they have to build something on it in so many years?
We have an assistant attorney, but it's $89,000.
Can we
Okay,
do something like that?
you are right on the
On
airport
the
with
main?
the road building.
That's
because
where, that's what put us over
There's a
budget.
26,800 to Bogans for a bunch of dirt work and building that up.
When we did the,
And then there's a 7550 to Olson. It says project 021 03296, and that's, I think that was that that Pappy system.
Pappy lights?
Yeah.
Are they
So-
not even installed yet, are they? The Pappy lights?
But we have paid 7,700 on them. So that was some bigger expenses there.
Back on your earlier question, Jim, where do you see furniture on district court?
well, just said office equipment, so it was
That is
said,
office, not district court. That's district clerk.
oh, district clerk for 20,000? I thought you said,
No, on
District.
the
Oh,
transfers,
that's in the court.
on the right column.
001?
Yeah, 001 general district court. to equipment reserve,
I
20.
thought we just gave them a building and said we go in as far as buying equipment.
I don't know what she's got in mind. I mean, we can ask Lori what that's for.
I think you're talking about POs.
Now, the PO up there on the office chairs, that was mine, that 2,000 on them.
Now, what is the 25 for patrol car upfits?
That is cars that he has ordered that are not in yet, and this is installing all of the extras we have to get when we buy a car.
$12,500 per car.
Yeah.
Put in the cage, put in the wiring, and put
Yeah.
all the lettering and all.
Yeah, so that'd be for 2 cars that are already ordered that aren't here yet, but he's wanting to transfer that money to equipment
I didn't
reserve
think they were that
One,
expensive.
to pay those.
We might be having another option for that.
I didn't think they were that expensive.
Yeah, the upfit is,
And the cages can't come out of the other cars?
they may be able to use the same, the transfer of them. I mean, sometimes they can use some of the equipment out of the old cars, but they got to rewire.
But is that what we're thinking?
I don't
about
ever remember spending $12,000.
this new guy?
What's that?
What he did, the new guy, what we talked about.
Now, this special fire for the 180,000, is that just type of deal we roll that over and then buy it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is, it is like a special or equipment reserve or a special machinery for other departments, but that's one that's set up just for fire that you can transfer money into to save toward future equipment purchases.
What was that?
180,000 for future special.
Is this is, I guess, at the end of the year, this is my frustration. So where'd the 180,000?
Yeah,
And the 200, right above it for road and bridge. Is this,
So
that
this-
was in the budget that we didn't spend, right?
Exactly.
And we didn't, so now we're obligating it to go into next year's, rolling it over, basically.
These would be putting it into equipment funds where
Yeah.
it could be used.
So basically, if we don't spend it the next year, we're gonna have 400,000. I
And
mean,
that's what's been happening.
It is.
And even before I got here, was that the intention of? Because it's, it's not really a budget if you just, we've talked about
I
this.
get it. Yeah, I do. And I mean, I think those are
If
really
you
questions
intentionally set,
for that department head to,
yeah, and if I intentionally say, this is what I need, Jim, for my budget, and I'm gonna take 50,000 of this and put it in roll it over into next year's for a savings or whatever, however you say it the proper way that you can do it, then that's okay, but that's not really what we're doing, is it?
well, it's just like the benefits, like I've talked about the benefits, if we go to the benefits, and I realize that comes out of a different budget, line item, but still we should have that in their budget somehow. I mean, to where we could look at it pick a department out, and if the benefits come out of that department, that is a cost to that department, right?
it is a cost caused by that department.
By that department. And I'm not saying, can we put that into the budget somehow to know at the end of the year that did come out of that budget? I mean, I know we've got the separate line item. I understand what you're saying because it's hard to know.
Well, you could do a line by line breakdown under benefits and show what departments those benefits went to. Can you say it?
I don't know.
Benefits we spent this year, this.
You mean to identify how much is?
To identify, and I mean, I'm not picking on just one, but I'll just look at this sheet here I have with the,
Yeah, other than showing you how much we spent total for like FICA, for capers, I don't have any breakdown in the benefits fund that by what department put it in there.
I'm more interested in how we list this next year for this rollover for special road and bridge, equipment reserve. Is there a better way that you can think of that we can do that instead of just,
My experience, if I could just toss something in these, what happens is, maybe in a year or two, you're gonna need to buy 2 graders.
Right.
And that will cost $600,000.
right?
You don't want to budget all that in a year. And so you intentionally, in the back of your mind, say, okay, we're gonna put aside 200,000 this year. and 200,000 next year.
Can't,
In the third
can't
year,
we identify that for that though? Is there a way? I mean, so Sean
I
can come in.
understand what you're saying. Yeah, you're saving for the replacement
Yeah.
of another piece of equipment. But,
And that way we would know, I would think and I wouldn't be asking these questions at the end of the year is, so there's 200,000 for road and bridge, and we've been planning to buy a road grader replacement for District 1 or District 2. And this is the year we do it, and we already have them identified which one we're gonna replace. Just go, that way we don't have to come in here and go through the whole rigmarole of, I really have a bad road grader and like to replace it. And do we have the money? Well, we already know we have the money for
All
it.
right. Probably the best thing on that was when people make these requests to specify what they're saving it for.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how else we do
And
it.
we could do that.
that
Yeah.
wouldn't necessarily be binding, but it would be information.
Yeah. Yeah.
Once
Be how
once it goes
budget.
into these reserve funds, it's up to the three of you how it's spent.
So
anyway.
who can pull out of the general fund? Like, so all this money, if it doesn't get spent, goes back to the general fund, right?
Okay, so if any cash that's left in the general fund rolls over into next year's cash, it doesn't go to anyone's specific budget.
So, okay.
So, I mean, and just, well, here, I'll give you an example. This will be a small one, but looking at mine, on my clerk line, I asked for one purchase order there of $2,075. I probably will have a few more small bills that come in, but I don't know how much that is yet. But the way it's looking right now, I've got $3,600 left in my budget at the end of the year that I'm not going to spend. That cash that funds that just rolls back into general. It's not mine. It's not saved for me. It just goes back into the general fund cash.
So who can't pull out of the general fund cash? The sheriff can't, can he?
Sheriff is within the general fund,
Oh, he is?
but the cash balance in there covers everyone in the general fund. So that's up to you guys what we do with cash that's in there. We have to have enough cash to fund the budgets and to pay the bills. But when there's cash left, it carries over in the fund. Where we get into like with the health department where I'm doing that budget amendment, they had quite a bit more cash left and they were pushing their budget. So I went ahead and put in an amendment to get it published so we could look at it next week. That way we could use some of that cash if we need to cover this year's budget, but we don't have to. It's just whether they have budget items that need to get into it or not.
Yeah. That's my only thought on that is
Yeah. And then a
try
lot
to
of,
specify in the
say-
future.
a lot of these that are going into the equipment reserve fund,
Yeah.
so that one, unless your budget or your fund has a specific thing, like road and bridge has special machinery, special road and bridge, fire has special fire equipment replacement. Most of the rest of us on appraiser has reappraisal. Most of the rest of us, if we're trying to put back for something to save, it just goes into equipment reserve where there's just a fund there with a bunch of money that we put into it. I track that by who put it in and what they said they wanted it for. And we've always tried to let them use it for those purposes. But technically, once it goes in that fund, if you guys decided you needed it for some other kind of equipment, you could pull it out and use it. We're not bound to give it back to the department that put it in there.
Okay. So, Sean, as you plan, I'm sorry, let me ask Sean a question.
Yeah.
There's two questions I got. Sean, in the future, so do you know what equipment that you may want to buy this next fiscal year?
Yes, I have a list.
So, and then I would ask you for next year's budget to identify big items that you're going to purchase, whether it's road and bridge or whether it's equipment for that or whether it's equipment for whatever else, to identify what you'd like to buy the following year. So we would actually know, not that, like,
Asking that
it's
for
more
2
of
years.
more of an informational for the commissioners to know, but it is important, I think, instead of just seeing 200,000 get rolled over into this and 200,000, why that 200, where is that 200,000 going to go? in the
Okay.
future? If-
And I hadn't even talked to Sean since I worked
I know.
this up completely, but what I put in there was the 88,000 we talked about for the Bogdan Bridge. 200,000 for Hell's Bend Bridge, because we know we're gonna have matching funds there, but we don't really know how much it is. And then what I'd calculated is you still had about 200,000 more left in road that I was just gonna transfer to special machinery for future machinery purchases. And that was, well, part of that was the, it's the skid steers.
Correct.
Because that's what we talked about on that one. It was gonna take about that to buy the skid steers.
Yeah, so if I knew that,
So that would be
Very-
one I could have put more information on there for you because we did talk about that part.
so one thing we didn't talk about, or at least I don't recall talking about, is the $25,000 for an airport courtesy car. What's that about? Can you?
We discussed this with the airport committee, and the station wagon that we currently are using as an admin car, if the money was available, was planning on just moving it over to the airport as a courtesy car, which they'd identified as something that, an improvement that was needed in the future for the airport, and then replacing that out of my budget
So
because the
you guys
vehicle
researched
itself.
the legalities of,
Yes, and I did look at the insurance and the other things as to whether or not other drivers would be qualified, and our insurance does cover them for that type of
How's
that
it
type
work?
of
Like,
use.
all the aviation, it's like an aviation like app or something, and then the pilots that land, how does it work? It gives you a code to a box that's there.
There's and I may get this wrong, there's an FOB or P. It's an acronym for the building. We have a building there.
Base operation.
Okay, FBO. There's a building there that has a bathroom and basically a small office area in it. It also houses one section's our maintenance for the lights and the airport itself. But in that small area for the pilot, when they come in, they have a code to get in the door.
How do they get that? That's on the aviation's like app or system or something?
Yes, it's identifiable to the pilots only to get into the doorway. Once they get in the doorway, there would be a set of keys, and they would typically go to a restaurant, whatever.
is there a
And
fee for it, for using the vehicle?
no,
Or is it-
no, they would use it locally.
You pilots who call in and are requesting this service. Currently, Cox Motors kind of does this. If they call Cox, they will take a car out for pilots to use. But we have quite a few pilots call in and ask about
It's pretty regular that they have these at airports, isn't it?
Yes.
Like how far they wanted to go. I mean,
They'll go get lunch at a local restaurant, spend money locally. They're not driving out of town typically with these vehicles.
Well, no, that's another thing I want to talk about, but come on now.
No,
But
so we're-
typically, in other places I've been, I've seen
Just like-
old squad cars, unmarked squad cars.
Yeah,
They
but how
take
do
a
we know-
vehicle
how do
that's
we know
not,
They don't take it for the whole day and just go wherever they go. Kansas City.
we would
Chicago,
have to track the mileage of the vehicle and the sign out sheet in the building.
GPS on it,
The vehicle, no,
locator on it.
no.
We could put one on it.
You could put one on it, but
We'll have their plane there. I mean, trade their plane for the car.
well, I'd like to see even, like I said, I'd like to see the benefits actually go to their budget to where we could look and see, and not that it's actually coming out of the budget, but there's departments there that it raises their budget $1 million. Right out with their employees off the benefits.
This is not on, this is something totally different, but yeah. So what do you want to do with the courtesy car? Can we just put it in general funds? 25,000?
Well, the airport is in general, if we take it out of there, so. The general fund has enough.
I'm not,
I don't see why we don't need no Lamborghini. I don't know why we couldn't take one of the squad cars or something old and just.
that's why I picked the station wagon. It's something,
so where did the 25,000 come from?
it was a
Fictitious number?
number pulled out of the air to buy a used car to replace that one.
Add that.
That's not,
Everybody's told me that it's just an old beater, anybody that
Yeah.
has them, they're just.
yeah.
Just don't want the county to.
Yeah, this is not to fund a car to put out there. We're taking a station wagon that's,
Okay, all right.
I mean, you're talking, they can only get it if they're a licensed pilot. They can only, I mean, that's the only type of people that can get access to the keys to the car, right? I mean, so you kind of know.
You'd have to know the code to the door, and that's something that
I've been
is
to-
specific to the pilots.
Scott and Dell, we've used cars and, we drove it 30 minutes and back and got back in the airplane wet. I mean,
I'm not saying I'm against it. I just want to make sure the county's not held.
What do we do with the two sheriff's cars like sitting down there, sir?
I'd like to use them out there. That's
What
why.
happens to them?
Once we donated one cars to some of the cities that they've asked before, we've done that before. And then we've, put them on Purple Wave? Yeah, put them on Purple Wave. Yeah.
I don't know, they're just two sitting down there.
I mean, but my idea, that station wagon we have to replace, the customers have already.
It's replacing the station.
Yeah, and it would be a used car. 25,000 is an arbitrary number. It would be just something similar to the Fusion that we used. The station wagon, similar to an old squad car, has outlived its
Can you check on the
usefulness here.
Police cars down there?
I believe the auction's closed on those is
Oh,
the
they
last time
Oh, they already,
is an online auction, and
Okay.
I believe that's closed.
okay, all right,
We don't ever know about any of that.
okay.
What we don't talk about.
I'm good, thank you. So what do you want us to do, David?
Well,
You want a blessing?
yeah, basically. If there's something you don't want left on there, or if you're okay with these amounts, just to let me know, I can go ahead and get the process for the end of the year. I will say, as the bills come in this week, I'll keep updating those spreadsheets to see where we're at on cash and budget. So it's possible that I might need to adjust some of those numbers down if we don't have enough left.
Yeah.
But I wanted to bring it in for you guys to see and to let me know if there's things you don't want to do on there, or if you're okay with it, or just.
And this $768,000 at the bottom of this sheet,
That would be all the transfers,
transfers?
and then the 342 plus another 9,500 that Christie just asked for would be all the purchase orders.
That's currently. And why do we have, like right here, we have 14 grand within these.
The purchase orders, those got the 300,000 in it for the health insurance. That's not a rollover, or is that just something?
Okay, that's one that
Do what?
I have to
14 grand
budget
within
for
these
the
four right here in
maximum
District Court.
on the health insurance every year
Yeah.
in case we spend it.
You got these 3 lines.
Usually we don't, and we typically do a purchase order like this, so
And what is that?
we end up paying next year's health insurance claims
Court
out of
bills
this
or what?
money.
Okay.
Or, I mean, why are, because we have an
you just
assistant.
pay
in
them.
there.
And I
Yeah,
expected
I
to
don't know,
have
but
probably
that's
half
what I
that
was-
much left when I
that's
did
what I
budget this
highlighted
last summer,
too,
but
is-
we've had a better year than
That's
I
just
thought
extra
we would, so
returns.
there's more there to do with.
I don't know if that was in the past before or what.
The 19,000 is what we've already paid for or for the painting, or it's.
That's the
remaining?
remaining 2 buildings that haven't been
Last
painted
two.
yet.
Now, what's the contract attorneys? What's all that?
Yeah,
Okay, that's a monthly fee to attorneys that cover.
That's the people who defend indigents.
Okay.
People who can't afford an attorney, the county has to provide them.
And they're just working on,
And we contract with these 4 people, these 4 law firms to provide that service. Typically, they're going to be getting, they bid on that. And the judge says, here's what we'll pay for your contract services for this year, per month, for your contract services for this year. And it doesn't work out very much for a case.
Right.
That's many cases, but.
So when they pay like their fines and stuff, court appointed lawyers, they still get, I mean, there's still fine money that goes towards that from like the criminal, right? So where does that money go?
When a criminal pays a fine, that goes, some of that goes to the state, most of it goes.
So we pay for the contract attorneys, but we don't get no money back. It goes on to the, you see what I'm saying?
I don't think any of it comes back to this line item.
But we're liable for the contract attorneys?
We're responsible.
And is this paying in advance, or is that just paying?
no, it's just encumbering this year's funds to pay
Just-
part of it next year. And that, I mean, truly, that is, when you get down to that, when they did not spend all their budget this year, they got some left, and that's how they'd like to use it.
I'm confused on, I guess I'm kind of mixed up on how the whole district court thing works. I thought I thought alls we had to do in our budget was provide them with a building. Is that not?
You just bought a bunch of furniture for it, too.
Oh, yeah, I know. Like, provide them with a space. Is that not the?
We do everything except the personnel costs.
Yeah.
For the judges.
What's personnel?
We do the bailiffs, we do all the equipment, furniture, location, we do everything but the judges' personnel.
Well, and the court clerks,
Yeah.
They're paid,
By
well,
the district.
by the district, which is out of Miami County's the home. But yeah, we have, utilities, furniture, anything like that comes up. Cleaning is all out of county funds.
All right, so on this, in the end, when we get done talking, do you need a motion, or do you just want us to say okay, or what?
Well, I think a motion would probably be best, but like I say, are there some of those like that office equipment you want me to check into first? Or you want to just go ahead and approve things and I'll get them processed, or where do we want to go on it?
I'd like you to check into them. I mean, this is kind of where I've been trying to say for 2 years was, during their budget, instead of giving us just $4 of what they want to do. I'd like to hear what they do, why they do it. I mean, I'm still not caught up and I've been here for 2 years or whatever. I'm still confused on, what the district court, what we do and don't pay for them, and, what we have to and what we don't have to. And
25,000 for a car for the airport, it's a little high, I
We'll
believe.
just roll it into, you don't have to list that, you just gonna, but the money's gotta go somewhere, right?
It doesn't have to.
when we just lose it, no, we can't.
If you don't use it, it just rolls over into cash in the fund.
No, that's what I'm saying.
But yeah, I mean, the cash would still be there.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. I'm not interested right now in another vehicle.
So you want to scratch the 25,000 on that?
I want to get a car down there. I don't know. I mean, at the end of the day, I want to get a car
Can
down
you
there.
get your pilot's license or something?
No, but I think it's when I used to own the cabin, they used to have to, come out there and stay or whatever. They'd have to go out and I'd have to go pick them up. And I think it's huge for the county. I mean, we have people flying into an airport that we spend all this money on and we don't, I mean, there's a lot of
What's your
reasons
thoughts
people
on
don't stop here.
If we got 2 more patrol cars coming, I guess, because we got to upfit them, I think we'd have a patrol car coming pretty quick, wouldn't we? If we're waiting on the upfit for 2 patrol cars. I mean, is that,
I would think that. I think his email was talking about March or sometime when the new ones.
I mean, we could have a patrol car pretty quick, I think, if we could get.
I just think it's a necessity. To have
Okay, well, what I'm understanding from Sean though is he's already got that
Those are already sold.
station wagon.
Uh-huh.
That,
He wants to put out.
He's already got a car for the station wagon.
well, he's talking to putting the station wagon out there. So
Is
we
there
already
still
have
an
it.
additional car that needs to be purchased?
But
And
his
that,
deal was,
This is for a car to replace.
yeah.
Right.
My question is, between both of you is, he wanted $25,000 for that. I don't think, do we need another vehicle, or is there another vehicle around that we can use?
I don't know.
To replace that?
Yeah.
Who uses that vehicle right now? Just Sean? The current station wagon, who
I
uses?
don't think he used it at all. I think it's available for any department.
anybody could that's going, I know, because we've got that Fusion that's over here too. And I know that's usually the one
Everybody
somebody in our office will use if
wants
we're
to drive
doing
to
some work in a
Topeka or
meeting.
somewhere. Yeah.
I'm not sure how much the station wagon gets used now.
Okay.
I don't know.
The only concern I have about the airport is if we have good regulations on, and the responsibilities to it, to that car,
From what Clarence is doing, was
mean,
talking to me about, it's a pretty regular thing. They do it everywhere.
No, I know, but there's gotta be some rules on it.
No, I agree. Yeah. I'd like to
Where are
see.
they at? and how
Well,
they-
if our insurance company is aware of how we're using it, if they have any restrictions they want to place on it, they will, I guarantee it. They'll say, you can't do this, you can't do that.
I just think it's a necessity because we have that airport. A lot of people don't stop there because, there's fuel now, but we get a courtesy car. It's just not.
So you're saying we already got the car over there then, I guess?
No, the car's not there yet.
So is
Right.
there a line item in his budget to replace that car already? Is he already getting a car? Is it already figured in? Or is he
No.
not wanting to do anything?
So the $25,000 is not supposed to come out of the airport budget. It's supposed to come out of Sean's budget. Sean's the one who's going to replace the Fusion here, or I'm sorry, the station wagon
So
here.
I've got it coming from that place.
It's not coming out of the airport budget. What we want to do is move the car that we already have to the airport. No one drives that car.
Then we don't need to replace it.
Well, I mean, they use it if the fusion is gone, but we don't use it regularly. So because it's kind of nobody, it's,
How long have we had the Fusion?
I don't know. It was here before I was.
So this station wagon is now just to back up the fusion.
Yes.
In case it's open.
Exactly. And sometimes, yeah. It's the
Last time it
backup.
was checked out and used, long time.
Well, I know IT's used it some in the last year, because when, well, it was Jason at the time, when he had to go out on location, he would take it instead of taking the Fusion. That way other people could use the Fusion if he was gone. So it does get used, just not as regularly as the Fusion.
Well, maybe that's something we can use, put the station wagon over there and the event of
Yes.
somebody actually having to drive one that day, they can put another blurb out there that the rental car is not available on this day.
Okay.
I mean,
And as far as
it
rules,
might
we can
or-
we'll have a sign out sheet out there. We're planning on putting a camera on the building that the car is housed in. And we can post some rules along with the sign up sheet if we, I mean,
Everybody says they want to go get something to eat. I can see that. I mean, that's, if a pilot comes in there, that's what they use it for.
and I have no problem with that. I just don't want it to, come up missing and be
No.
in the city from 9 o'clock in the morning when they land until that night, or
Right.
maybe they stay up there in the city and then come back and get on their.
well, and I think we put some kind of contact information for the pilot as well, a phone number when they take the car
Yeah.
that they have to leave.
And then we need to leave an insurance card in there or whatever too.
Could we just get like some stickers that say Linn County Airport Car or something on it? I mean, on the side of it?
I think it says Linn County on it already.
No. I want it to be known though.
It's like, don't wait.
We have that airport, we don't utilize it.
Right. Well, and this would be a huge service for the pilots. There's no food out there right now. There's nowhere to get a drink. I mean, there's a restroom and that's it right now. So this would be a way for them to be able to come into town and get something to eat when they land.
I'm not against it. I'm just.
No, I
we
know.
have
I
all
know.
the rules and everything.
Yes,
The county
we will.
gets sued or a car comes up missing.
Yes.
And if Sean decides he needs to replace that station wagon, he's gonna have to come to you.
Right. And we'll have the cash over there anyway.
So you don't want to do a transfer on that then? Is that what I'm getting?
We're just gonna put it in cash.
It'll carry over in
That's-
cash if we don't.
Is that all right with you?
It's fine with me.
Okay, so I can
Good.
scratch that one. But you're not opposed to the
Airport.
station wagon
To
being
using
out
it
there?
out there.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Come up
just
with
a
some
replacement,
rules.
not-
I'd like to see what you got.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
Then everything else goes into wherever it's supposed to go to.
Okay, so other than that, do I need to scratch anything else off this list at the moment?
So you said the Hell's Bend and the
Those are just
Boston's
estimates.
are matching?
Yeah, and the one on the Bodkin Bridge, Sean talked about a week or two ago, and he's got a pretty close, I mean, that 88 should be our match on that one. The one on Hell's Bend,
We don't know.
we know yet. I was just looking at, there's enough left to put a couple $100,000 aside for that project, and I think, I can't imagine we're gonna need less than that on that project, as big as it is.
Yeah. All right.
Cameras for the vans?
So prepare a motion for us then.
All right, so what I had in here, approve the year-end purchase orders and transfers as presented, except for, and I was gonna list any exceptions there. So I could say except for the airport courtesy car transfer.
Okay.
Sounds like,
And it'll just go into cash though.
yeah, it'll stay in the cash. It's not gonna go anywhere.
Yeah.
So is that acceptable, or do you guys wanna look at some more of these, or?
No, I don't. Because in the end, it's almost a done deal.
I just think during the budget season, I think there's gotta be more detail, more talk, more time, effort.
So is that amount, you gonna change it by 25,000? Is that what you're doing or?
Well, I'll knock the 25 off that, but then I'm adding that 9,500 that Christie asked for on the purchase.
Okay, so
side, too.
what's your thing? And I'll make a motion if you tell me how you're gonna present it.
All right, well, let me plug those two things in my list here and I can give you amounts. Take out the 25. Wrong spot. All right, I pull the 25 transfer out. I would, and I add the 95 Christie S4 on purchase orders. I would have a total of $352,058 for purchase orders and $743,000 for transfers.
Okay, that's my motion. To approve that.
I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye. Aye. You got an aye?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I say, I'll be watching the amounts as the bills come through this week, and if I need to drop some of those down farther, I would.
We start prepping for our budget in April, is that right?
Yeah, along in there.
So maybe we can
Give
come
them
up
an
with some
outline of what we want.
guidance that maybe help them a little bit more.
How much?
us.
How much is in this? Is the special or the fire has their own special equipment fund, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how much is in it?
I can tell you here in just a second. So, fire, find it. Special fire has 245,000 in it at the moment.
And then the 180 will go on top of that.
Yeah, that would go in with that.
So 425.
Yeah, they'd be in that neighborhood with this transfer.
So that trailer that he bought, did it come out of that special equipment?
That was just out of the fire budget.
Why would it not come out of special equipment?
Well, it could have, but it just came out of his capital outlay on his budget. It's the way he ran it through. But yeah, I mean, it definitely could have come out of special fire equipment.
Would that have made more sense, or
What's in his capital outlay right now?
Let me put another spot up for that. Hang on. Capital outlay, he's got 24,000 left in this year's budget on it. And he has spent 55 or 50. No, I'm sorry. He spent 24. He's got 53 left.
53,000.
Yeah.
What's that? Just roll over into the next year?
Well, the cash would, although he's not going to have really extra cash to roll over if we transfer it into special fire. Instead of rolling over, it's going to be transferred to special fire equipment. Now, he did budget a $50,000 transfer, but we're ending up with a lot more than that left. So that's what
So this 180 is on top of
that would include the 50 he budgeted for.
what he has left. It's not count. That's in the 100.
does everybody do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Budget carryover?
Mm-hmm. I'll fake the budget. What else you got?
I think that's it.
Gary, you got anything? Danny? You be all right?
Maybe for this week.
Jim? All right, well, guess we can go home then. Make a motion and we adjourn. Moving to second, all in favor? Aye. And everybody have a great Christmas, I hope.
Don't smoke too many cigars, Gary.